Hi, it's Bumble. Welcome back to my channel. So, normally I don't really like recording in the morning because my voice tends to get kind of gargly and I have to chug a bunch of water. Normally I like to do it at like nighttime. But it's been, and I really wanted to make this video the day that I watched the movie. Usually that's my goal. I'm recording it the day after. But it has been for the past like 2 to 3 weeks and continuing, I think, until like the rest of the month or something. So hot where I live right now. That's just how it gets here in like the summers. Or if I have my computer on during the day, it's like I am just boiling in my room. And I had watched this movie and it was really good. And I thought, I'll wait until nighttime and I could talk about it. But even until like 10 or 11 p.m., it was still just really hot. The only time where it's like sort of not is like kind of early-ish in the morning, which is what I'm talking right now. Because it's like right before it gets hot. But even then, I have like a fan on. I don't know if I have it kind of low, so it's hopefully not being picked up by the mic. But yeah, I usually like to talk about movies the day I watch them, because then it's like I still, not only is it like easier for me to remember, but also what was I gonna say? My feelings about them. I'm still like feeling those feelings. Like I was kind of emotional when I finished this movie, and especially as I was watching it. So yeah, and there's been like other things on the channel I've wanted to like make videos on and stuff. Like I've been watching a bunch of like Netflix shows and listening to some musicals. Not that I'd make an individual video for any of those, but I was thinking in my head of like, oh, these would be cool to talk about in like one big video. But it's been like so hot here. I'm only recording if I feel like there's something I absolutely like this movie, for example, like I just need to talk about verbally. So I don't know if I'll get to make a video on the other stuff. Probably not. But yeah, this movie is really good. I had heard about it. I was like kind of curious about it. I think I read about it in, there's some like fashion magazine that gets sent to my house sometimes. I'm not no one in the family subscribed. It's kind of weird. I think it's called like GQ. I think it's like some men's fashion magazine or whatever. But it shows up at my house sometimes. I don't know. And I remember there was an article in it like a couple of months ago that was, or it might have been probably like last year, that was on this movie. It was like an interview with like two of the main actors. And I thought, oh, okay, this movie sounds kind of cool. And I like kind of kept it in my radar. And then I didn't ever really see it on streaming, and I kind of forgot about it. But then it's on HBO Max. I'm actually not sure how long it's been on there. Because that's one of the services I kind of would watch sometimes. It's just I didn't have access to it for like 4 weeks or something because it like logged itself out at my house, and I'm not the person with the login information or whatever. So like I got home from being away and I still couldn't watch anything on there. And I like HBO Max because it is like once a month they'll add a movie that was like semi recently in theaters, like even something from last year. And I feel like with a lot of streaming services, it's like a movie that was in theaters would come out well, it depends on like how the movie does and stuff, but like most of the time it's like it will take forever for it to end up like on a streaming service, where if you're subscribed you can just like watch it, or you don't have to like pay extra money for it or anything. So I like with HBO, it tends to be some of the really popular movies in theaters. I don't know if this was like the movie for this month or if this had been added recently, because I couldn't keep track, but I saw it was on there and I was like, oh, I want to watch this. Or I wasn't really sure if I wanted to watch it. I just remembered, oh, I was interested in this. I even had watched the trailer, which I don't think actually gives like a ton of stuff away, which is really nice, because sometimes I watch trailers for movies and it like spoils something huge or whatever. I think it did a little bit, or was like implying to spoil something. I'm gonna be spoiling stuff anyway talking about this movie, just as a heads up, like usual. But yeah, I wasn't sure from the trailer. I was like, okay, they're just walking, are they walking to a place or what the deal was exactly. I almost didn't watch it. I was like, maybe I'll watch something else because I have to share an HBO Max profile thing with my parents now, which is kind of sucky. But I had added some horror movies. I was almost going to watch something else, and I thought, you know what, I was interested in this already. I should probably just watch it. And I'm so glad I did. I've been watching a bunch of, well, I know this movie came out like last year, but I've been watching a bunch of movies that had come out this year. You know, there's been like a whole bunch of popular ones recently, like the one Sheep Detectives and Project Hail Mary, Obsession, The Backrooms. Oh man, I'm always forgetting the name of it, but it was one I really liked and I almost made a video of, where it's the two guys and there's like an entity that tries to be the other person. That one was really good actually. I'd want to watch it again. But yeah, I've been watching all these movies that came out this year. I think Project Hail Mary is still my favorite. Still the one that got me the most emotional. The Sheep Detectives also kind of got to me a bit. I think those were my two favorites. And even though this is a movie from last year, because I watched it this year, I'm gonna say out of like everything I've watched this year, besides this is the movie that had gotten me as close to being emotional as I did with like Project Hail Mary. I think that one I did kind of cry a little bit, or I got like really, really close. And with this movie, I did actually get a bit teary-eyed. You know, when you'll get kind of emotional and you kind of like cry a little, but it's only out of one eye and not both eyes, like a little bit of water kind of comes out. It was like that for me. At like, I think 1 or 2 times during this movie, I was like telling my friends about it too. But with this movie, it made me kind of anxious the whole time, even though I feel like I shouldn't have been. It's kind of interesting, because this is a movie, if you don't know about it, it's called The Long Walk, because there's these 50 boys, they're teens. I think there's like 50 of them. It's like one from each state, and they can volunteer to get into this lottery to win a spot to go on this walk. And it's interesting to me. It's not, and it almost feels a bit more cruel actually. Instead of it being like, okay, you're gonna do all this walking and you're gonna reach like an end point and we'll see who wins, there is no like finish line. It is literally whoever is the last person. And at first I thought like, what does that mean? I thought that meant maybe they would have to, actually I thought the characters were going to be more mean. I thought they were going to potentially like sabotage each other to like try to win, and it was going to get violent in that way. It gets violent in like a different way actually, where it's like the last person standing wins and then the race is over, so they just have to keep walking. So it's really more like they're racing each other rather than like racing to a finish line. And I think that's what makes it kind of cruel, in that with a lot of the characters, not that you get to know like all 50 or anything, but there's probably at least like 6 or 7 that are like there's 2 main characters, and there's like 6 or 7 of like characters that are also important you get to kind of see throughout the movie, but it's like a focus on like a couple of people. And they all end up kind of becoming friends and stuff, so the fact that, you know, they can't all win, it just has to be one person. I think the things that like kind of make it a bit anxiety inducing in a way, are kind of still end up emotionally being hard to watch, is that the way it ends up being of like, what happens if they stop walking, was something I thought about. They get these warnings and they get like a ticket, in a sense, is just what it's called, and they end up actually getting shot. There's like military people or something, and there's this major guy who took me a while with the major, because I didn't recognize like a ton of the cast in this movie. It took me a little bit, like 20 minutes in or something, to realize, oh yeah, that's Mark Hamill. I think it's just because like I've like seen him in a ton of stuff and like voice acting roles. everyone knows him from like Star Wars and stuff, and I do too. But like ever since I played some of the Batman Arkham games, specifically Arkham Asylum, to me now he's the Joker, like I hear his voice. And I think especially because he's like older too, and he's playing this character that's like this older guy, like tough guy and stuff. And it's like every once in a while I was listening to him and in this movie and he just sounds like the Joker, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit. But yeah, his character is an asshole, where he's trying to get the boys that are running to like view they're running as like this patriotic thing that they volunteered for and whatever, because the characters, they're not told like, oh yeah, if you stop walking, you're gonna like literally die, we'll kill you. And even as he's having his soldiers or whatever kill these people, he does not blink an eye at it or anything, and he's like really, and the Major gets like really excited of, oh, there's like less and less of you left and you're doing great and whatever. And the thing that sucks too is like these boys, the only time they get to rest is if they choose to stop, but that gets them like the verbal warning, so they're not supposed to. They have to be on their feet like night and day, no matter what the weather is. And then later in the movie you hear that the Major, because him and his soldiers are following them in these tanks, so it's like they don't have to walk, of course they're in a good mood, that the Major at some point gets to like eat and occasionally shower and sleep and everything, like he gets to take breaks, and it's like the boys don't, and that's shitty. But yeah, the fact that they get shot, so it's like once that happens you're like, oh, okay, so like all of these characters except for one, not just that they'll lose, but that they're going to die. And it's like, even keeping that in mind, for the rest of the movie, it still really makes it tense, because I guess at least for me, when I was watching, I wasn't just thinking like, oh, I wonder who's going to be the winner. I was thinking like, okay, it's got to be, because this is a movie and stuff, that the main characters are the ones that are going to survive the longest. But I kept wondering like, okay, who's going to be like the next person taken out and stuff. Like the movie I think was only like an hour and a half or something, and because there's 50 of these characters racing, a lot of them get taken out very quickly. You sometimes don't get to know their names, and suddenly there's like a bunch, you just hear, because like at first the movie does make a big deal of like, hey, these people are getting shot, it's like a big thing, and it eventually reaches a point where it's like you sometimes don't even see the person getting shot. If it's like a nameless character, you just hear the gunshots and stuff, and you even see it in like the main characters' reactions too, where at first they're like very flinchy and stuff, and eventually they just kind of get used to the sound because they have to and everything. But they do still have it where if it's like, as it's approaching the end of the movie and it's like a important character that gets killed, especially if it's in like a very dramatic or like emotional way, the movie does kind of take its time with those death scenes and these people getting shot and stuff. But it's like you become attached to these characters anyway, and I think what kind of really made it like emotional to me, it's a couple of things. It's that surprisingly a lot of the characters would end up just like kind of getting too tired or wanting other people to win or having guilt over something, and they decide to stop moving, and then they go through the warning things and whatever, and they've basically decided like, yeah, I'm gonna like choose to die at this point, and they end up getting shot. Just the fact that happened to way more characters in this than I thought it would, I felt was really surprising and made me really sad. Like there's a bully character, for example, who's constantly talking about like having some kind of plan, and you're like, what kind of suspicious activity is he gonna get up to? And then he ends up being one of the characters that just decides to stop running. I think for that character specifically, it's like guilt because he got someone killed, like one of the other runners, like earlier in the movie. For some of the other characters, it's like they just get too tired or they want to go home, or there's like a variety of reasons, but it's always really hard to watch when someone decides to voluntarily like choose. I mean, for some of them, they don't have a choice. Some of them, they end up getting injured, and the movie does not shy away from like the violence or the injuries or any of the more like graphic stuff. Like they will just straight up show you someone getting shot in the head, or there was like one guy that had a broken ankle or something, and you could see his foot flop along on the road. I think one of the worst things for one of the characters, someone got the shits, like I think kind of like diarrhea almost. You could see that as it's happening, and the poor guy could not stop or hold it in, because like if they have to go to the bathroom, it's like they have to do it on the road, like as they're walking. You gotta like poop your pants. I mean, they're lucky they're all guys. You can just, like pee on the road or whatever. But that, that still sucks. I'm trying to think, what are the other ones? Or for a lot of them, they end up getting like cramps or stuff, or like their legs going jelly. And that happens so much, especially towards the beginning. I was almost a little suspicious of like, okay, because the military people that are hosting this event, they don't care if they have to shoot these teenagers to maybe shorten the race or whatever. I thought, like, are they manipulating things? Are they making it? Because they're the ones that are giving the kids, like, food and water. They have to have the food out of these little, like, it almost looks like the tubes for paint. And then they have these canteens for their water, and they're the ones supplying it. And I almost thought, like, are they sabotaging the race or something? And that's why so many people are getting all these leg cramps and getting sick and stuff. But no, I had to think about it, and it's like, yeah, no, they're having to do all this walking or getting messed up or sick or whatever. So that ends up happening to a lot. But yeah, a lot of them, especially like plot important characters, it's like a very dramatic and emotional thing when they end up having to leave the race at some point. The thing in terms of that I was surprised though was for the two main characters, who I also want to talk about in a bit. I thought they're trying to see which one is going to win whole scene. I thought that was going to go longer and be kind of more like emotional in the same way as some of the like plot important characters' deaths, and it wasn't. I mean, it still was an emotional scene, but like I thought the movie was really gonna like kind of milk it out a little bit. I think the other thing for me too is that the characters, I mean, I don't think they're like all the same age. They're all at least like teenagers. The oldest person's probably like 18 in that sense. How they end up becoming friends, like they're all people, they don't know each other before the race or anything, but it's like they kind of become comrades through they're like all suffering together basically, to the point where with some of the main characters, including the two like main characters, they end up referring to themselves as musketeers. So it ends up being really sad when it's like slowly you see some of these people like or even ones that are kind of more minor characters, but they're still like very friendly with the main characters when they end up having to leave the race. And just the way that like some of those characters will suddenly get tired, or they'll have to they stop moving, and the other characters, yeah, that's the thing I was actually most surprised about, is I really thought there would be at least one person, even if it wasn't like the bully character, that would be like actively trying to sabotage the others or trip someone. Or, I mean, the bully character, I don't remember what his name is. He was definitely a bit of a rage baiter, and that worked. I thought there was going to be more behavior like that, because the characters know only one of them can win. Not that they, like, want to get each other killed or anything, but, I thought there would be more sabotage or something, and there's not. And instead, it's, like, the exact, for the most part, opposite, where it's, like, they... if someone's getting tired, they'll like link arms with the other person, and because they all have to stay at like the same pace, it's like a specific amount of miles or something, and if they slow down they get a warning. So it's not like you can walk at like snail speed or something. So it's like they'll go and they'll link arms and like try to get someone to like keep up the pace, because some of them like will fall asleep as they're walking and stuff, or if someone suddenly stops, there's some of the characters that will actually like run back and try to help them up, even knowing that that will get them warnings as well. Just the fact that they want to just all help each other so bad, and not like everyone keeps a positive attitude, but some of them do, of like, you know, trying to not think of like, yeah, we might die if we stop racing, and eventually, you know, the race doesn't end until someone wins. It's like there's a lot of like kind of a positive attitude. It's kind of nice, but it definitely makes you more attached to the characters, and I really liked the friendship between all the characters. And yeah, it just, I want to say one more thing about the death scenes. Those were hard, I think, just because the way these characters will get like homesick or really scared, or knowing that they're going to die and, you know, they don't want to die. Every time that happened, I kept just thinking like, these are just like teenagers, you know, they're only doing this kind of because they I mean, not like they're drafted in, because again, they have to volunteer and it's like a lottery, but in the world they live, it sounds like it's in like such a kind of a shitty, everyone's kind of in a shitty position, that it's kind of like they sort of have to try out for this, because they end up getting like a huge amount of money. It's like a huge amount of money and also a wish, which I'm glad the wish doesn't have any like, you know, it's not like a genie wish or whatever where it's like there's some kind of consequence. It's like you wish for something and you get it. It's thankfully that simple. So like a lot of the characters also have like different wishes. Some of them really want the money, some of them want to make like social change, some of them want to like give back to others. It's like a whole thing. But yeah, they're just teenagers. And the thing that's interesting is that I think I saw in the trailers, it's like made by the same people who did Hunger Games. I'm not completely sure. Or I was at least thinking about those movies, because I read the books when I was like 12 or something, and I watched at least a couple of the movies. I still can't believe those are being made. I know it's the prequel movies, but yeah, I still can't believe that series movie-wise is still going. Because I haven't followed it in like years. But yeah, it kind of reminds me of those, of like, you know, these teenagers in some kind of, well, in Hunger Games, I mean, the thing that sucks is like it's also like little kids too. It's like all kinds of ages, but yeah, these people being forced in like a societal pressure kind of way to be part of this contest. I mean, with Hunger Games, it's that they have to like actually kill each other, and in this one, it's that they're gonna die. You know, I think, and I mean, yeah, I think it's like only one or two people can kill the Hunger Games anyway. But yeah, I think what makes this one more emotional is that they're not trying to kill each other or anything, but that they're going to die. It's more of like a kind of, yeah, death is inevitable. Like they are stuck doing the walk and everything. They can't quit, or if they try to run away, they end up, like if they try to have any exit, basically it's you get shot pretty much. Like there is no escape. And I think in a sense that makes the plot of this movie kind of scarier to me. But yeah, the fact that a lot of the characters try to become friends and help each other, you know, like they all gotta suffer together. It's just definitely makes it more emotional. But yeah, they're not like all played by like, I don't think any of them are probably played by like teenagers, but I just kept thinking with their characters, it just made me feel more sorry for them if they're all like so young, especially because you learn that some of them, they'll like talk about their families, or you find out that there's one guy who is actually married and he had a wife, and sometimes when those characters die, the others will say like, oh, we should donate some of the money if we win, like make a promise to like help them. I was actually reading a little bit of the movie on Wikipedia. Apparently there's an alternate ending which reveals that the winner ends up keeping that promise and sending some of the money and stuff, because it was something they mentioned about in the movie, but you don't get to see the winner do at the end. It kind of makes me wonder if I can like find that alternate ending just to see that. That sounds actually, I mean, the alternate ending does have an alternate ending. There's someone who dies at the end that I guess does not die in the alternate ending, but the rest of that ending almost sounds like an epilogue in some way. Okay. I want to talk about like I want to talk about the two main characters specifically, because their friendship really is the heart of the movie. There's two main characters of the two people on the poster. I guess like the person that starts off as the main character, then it kind of ends up being both of them. His name is Ray. His goal is he wants to get revenge on the major character, the major, because the major ends up killing his dad, and Ray's the character that was raised with all of these ideas of like fighting against the government, because it's like a movie that takes place in the 70s, but it's like an alternate version of the 70s, where it's like the military's in charge of everything and stuff, and the people are like being suppressed. But yeah, Ray, he actually keeps the whole thing of like his goal to kill the major kind of a secret for most of the group until the end. But he's the character you get to hear the most about, like with his family and stuff, because he has a mom. Now that I've actually watched the movie, I think it makes the first scene sadder, where he's saying goodbye to his mom, and his mom's like, yeah, you don't have to do this and stuff. I felt bad for Ray, because he's like determined to win. And then there's this one point in the movie when he gets to actually see his mom, because she shows up to the race and is watching, and he's trying to tell her of like, because he's like, yeah, I'm gonna like win, and I'm gonna do what I came out here to do and inspire social change, and he has all these goals, and then he gets to see his mom, and he like starts crying, and he's like, Mom, I'm so sorry I did this, I should have just stayed home and stuff. And he kind of realizes like, yeah, volunteering for this to kill the major and to make change, you know, it wasn't worth potentially dying for him. And I think what also makes it sad too is he asks her for a hug, and his friend, who's the other character I'm going to talk about, his name's Pete, is like trying to pull him back towards the race, because it's like the one like kind of time in the movie, or one of the times really, that Ray could have gotten himself like killed and everything, but you understand why he did it. Like, it's just the emotional effect of like seeing his mom there. Pete, I think, was probably my favorite character in this movie. I honestly, because like the actor that plays him, David Johnson, I honestly got to see like more stuff that he's in. It's been like a couple of movies I've seen him in. Like, there's this rom-com called Rye Lane. I think I watched that on Hulu. That one was really nice. It was nice to see in a movie where it's like a happier story, because like I've seen him in this, and I've seen him, I think the first movie I saw him in was Alien Romulus. That was a really good movie where he plays an android character, because like every Alien movie there's always like a different android character and stuff, and I really liked his performance in that. I've already talked about that movie on the channel. It's like I can't make a video on it again, but I liked his performance in that movie, because his android character ends up having like a complete personality shift, accent shift, everything, like halfway through. And yeah, it was a really cool performance. But I like his character Pete as well, because Pete's the guy out of everybody in the group that is the most like optimistic, trying to keep everyone's spirits up type of a character and everything. And I do like that it's a not like an act per se, kind of, because he eventually does end up saying, like, yeah, trying to keep a positive attitude all the time is actually, like, he has his reasons why he's like that, is like really hard and everything, because he makes it look like so easy and stuff, but he tries to be very cheerful, and sometimes he like occasionally taunts people, which is kind of funny, or he'll end up it is kind of a little funny of like, there's characters, you see them kind of slowly slow down as the movie goes on, and then with the main characters it's like they end up doing so well that sometimes they're like skipping. It almost feels like bragging in a sense. Like Pete and Ray at one point end up just playing catch with the ball as they're walking, as if it's the most like casual thing in the world. But yeah, Pete tries to make friends with a lot of the characters and stuff, and kind of not include everyone in like his little musketeer group. It's maybe like 4 or 5 people. But yeah, he's like very friendly. Him and Ray, they end up kind of becoming friends almost right away and stuff, to the point where they're the ones that are like walking in the front. And they end up, the two of them, becoming like the best of buddies, and they help out each other and stuff. Like when one of them will fall asleep, the other person will have their arm around them to make sure they keep walking. They'll like take breaks to sleep, or they're playing the ball or chatting about stuff. Pete specifically saves Ray like so many times in this movie that the two of them would not, or at least Ray would not have made it as far as he did if it wasn't for Pete. Like straight up, not that he wasn't doing well or anything, or like constantly needed help, but like various things would happen where like Ray's leg ends up getting messed up, or when he sees his mom. I feel like the mom thing is kind of an exception though, or like one time he ends up falling asleep, it's like during the first night. Just like a bunch of things end up happening, and Pete always saves him, to the point where it gets towards the end of the race, and Ray has to tell him like, okay, I think you need to just stop saving me at this point. But yeah, Pete's just like a really great friend. And eventually you do get his backstory. I actually do kind of like the timing of it too, because like he has this really big scar on his face, and the characters ask him about it, and he kind of just ignores the question, kind of brushes it off a bit actually. And then when it gets to the point when Ray ends up seeing his mom and kind of breaks down a bit, and Pete's desperately trying to keep him in the race. He's like trying to distract him a little and says, you know what, okay, you want to know about like my scar and my backstory or whatever, here you go. And you find out that Pete's the kind of character where he is in this race where he doesn't have anything to lose. His life's just really sucked, where he doesn't have like parents or anything, and he hasn't been treated well and gets enough fights with people. That's how he ends up like getting the scar. But it's basically for him, like he ends up getting a second chance and decides not to waste it, and to try to keep a positive attitude and everything all the time, which is why, and it just kind of explains why Pete is the way he is, basically. And yeah, I thought it was like a good backstory and stuff. And then it's kind of interesting, you get to the end of the movie where it ends up just being Ray and Pete, and they end up in this city, and there's like a huge crowd of people and everything. Which I knew there would be. Like the characters mention it when there's like the final 2 racers. That's when all the people are allowed to actually, all the spectators are allowed to watch them and stuff. I kind of had wished it would have been played out just as almost dramatically, in a sense, as like some of the other competitors, like deaths and stuff. Like it is dramatic and everything, where it's kind of what you'd expect of they try to sacrifice themselves so like the other person can win, but they do a switcheroo, which I'm so glad the switcheroo was there, actually, because like Ray's made to be like the main character for a lot of the movie, or at least like the beginning, especially. And him having his mom, so you kind of just assume maybe that he's gonna win. I think that's the interesting thing, because like Ray has that, but then Pete's someone who wants to give back to the community so bad and doesn't really have anything in the world, so they're both kind of like sympathetic enough to win. And it ends up being and especially because like Pete's been saving Ray so many times, you think like, and the movie sets it up that way of like, oh, you know, Pete's gonna sacrifice himself so that Ray could like see his mom again and stuff, and tries to do that, and then Ray stops walking and almost tricks him, and not really like tricks as in like being malicious, but there's like the switcheroo there. So Ray stops walking, and then Pete and Ray gets shot by the Major, and then Pete wins, and it's kind of like it's like almost a hard scene to watch, actually, where, you know, Pete and Ray at this point have become like the bestest of buddies. They refer to each other as like brothers and everything at this point. You know, Pete sees his friend got shot like right before his eyes and everything, and as soon as Ray dies, it turns into like a party place right there, you know, where everyone's like celebrating, and the Major's like, congratulations, you're gonna win this money. And the fact that there's like fireworks and everything, and meanwhile Pete is on the ground and he's crying, and it's not just because he won all this money and whatever and that he survived, but his like new best friend just died in front of him. And plus, you know, it's probably like a huge shock of like they end up walking for like 4 or 5, yeah, I think it's like 5 days or something, just 5 days straight, so, you know, they're exhausted, and he had to see all of these people die. It's like very tense. You really do feel the like anxiety of the characters like as you're watching this movie. It was definitely made me like anxious, but not in a way where it like made my stomach hurt or anything watching this movie. But yeah, all of these people died, and it's like such a weird thing of like, you know, Pete's a normal empathetic person, you know, where his friend died and all these people died, and he's rightfully very upset about it and everything. It's like it's a not a good feeling to be the winner of this race, even though it means you get to stay alive, and then everyone else around him is celebrating. And I keep thinking about that since I finished the movie, the shot of like Pete on the ground crying, and there's all of these like fireworks above him as if it's like the 4th of July, and it's like, this is not a thing to celebrate, man. But yeah, I do like that the ending is yeah, Pete ends up shooting the Major. Like he literally asks for a gun and shoots the Major, and the Major tries to talk about him out of it, but he's not the kind of guy where he's gonna like beg for his life or anything. But yeah, it is nice that Pete ends up fulfilling Ray's wish, and I got kind of nervous because he shoots the Major, which I'm assuming means he doesn't win the money or anything, and I was really worried that he'd end up getting like shot himself or something for as like a punishment for shooting the Major. But no, Pete just gets to walk away. I mean, you probably not getting the money, but like at least he's alive and he's gonna go do whatever. I don't know if like the Major getting shot means what that affects in terms of the state of that world, or if that means the race is like never gonna happen. I just assumed it was like, okay, he got shot, but you know, the race probably continues. Like, it probably changes things, but probably not everything. I don't know, the movie doesn't really follow through with that. It's just kind of like he gets shot and then Pete leaves, and that's pretty much it. But apparently the alternate ending I'm reading about is that he doesn't end up shooting the Major, but he does use the wish to get the gun, but then he doesn't shoot the Major, and then he just leaves. But then it's shown that he sent the money to the family members of some of the the walkers. I don't know. I mean, I know it's sort of a race in a sense. It feels weird calling them racers because they're not racing to like a finish line. I actually do like that the, I guess, main ending is that the major gets shot, because you hear various things about the major during the race, and it's like every time you just think like, what a sleazeball, you know? Like there's a character, which one is it? I think it's Stebbins actually. He doesn't really say like a ton of stuff throughout the movie, but he's someone that's like very knowledgeable about the walk and everything, and you're like, and you find out he's one of the majors of many illegitimate children, because I guess he has a lot of those, and that he wanted to be able to meet his dad and live with him and stuff, and he ends up dying. He decides to just stop walking, and it's not treated as like a super emotional death scene, surprisingly. It's that he chooses, like, he gives this information and decides to die, and Ray and Pete just kind of let him go. But yeah, you learn like a bunch of stuff like that about the major, and it's like, you know, so I'm kind of glad what happens to him happens, really. There's something else about Stebbins I was gonna say. What was it? I don't remember. Yeah. But yeah, there's like a bunch of interesting characters in this movie. I know I didn't really talk about them. I kind of just wanted to talk about the main two. But yeah, it was an enjoyable movie in that I like that it feels kind of like a character study movie in a sense, where it's not really like, yeah, they have to go on this walk and they're gonna get like shot and eventually someone has to win, and it is dramatic when they decide they don't want to be in the race anymore. But it's a movie where it doesn't really feel like it's about the walk. It feels like it's more so about the characters and their motivations and their friendship, and I just find it really interesting. But yeah, it definitely made me, it was like I was anxious throughout, but also emotional at several scenes where I kind of like held my breath or reacted to things. It actually made me glad that I didn't watch this in a theater and that I watched it at my house instead. And I was just like so focused on the movie as well. I wasn't even taking like, not that I take notes on my phone for like every movie. I didn't even think like, oh, I'm gonna like watch this and talk about it or anything. I was just so absorbed with the movie, and it was only at the end that I got on my phone and I was messaging my friends like, hey, I watched this and it was really good. I don't know if like my friends will eventually want to watch this or something, because sometimes that happens where I tell them about a movie and they're like, let's all watch this together. I don't know if this is a movie I'd want to like watch with friends. I feel like it could be interesting in that sense because it's about friendship in a way, but at the same time it's like, this is kind of a depressing movie. I don't think this would be like my first choice of something to watch with other people in like a friend group movie watch sort of thing, but it is a good movie. I do recommend it. I mean, it's not like the first of like Stephen King adaptation movies that I've seen, because there's been like several and I find them like really interesting. Like I think The Shining is like the one yeah, hold on, I feel like I have to look up a list actually. I'm gonna miss some like ones that he's had into movies. Let me see. Movies. Okay, let's see. Oh, there's like a whole list. Cool. Oh my gosh, there's actually a lot of these. Alright, let me just look on, I like to go on IMDb. I want to tell you the ones that I've seen. Let's see, Carrie, that was a good one. I actually watched that fairly recently. I think The Shining and It seem to be like the big two. I really like The Shining. It took me so long to end up watching that one just because of like what other people have been saying about it. Christine, I'd watched pretty recently. I think that was the most recent one besides The Long Walk. I thought Christine was just okay. Children of the Corn and Firestarter I've heard about, but I've never seen them. Oh, I didn't know Stand By Me was one. Really? Huh. I watched that as a kid. I remember it was pretty sad. Yeah, The Running Man. I've seen The Running Man. I know I haven't talked about it on here. I haven't seen the original movie from the 80s with Arnold. I've seen the remake. I almost was going to make a video on it. I think one of my favorites, actually, I might have even liked it more than The Shining. And I was surprised I got so many views on this channel. Was the movie Misery with Kathy Bates. It was really good. I think it's one of the... It was another one that definitely made me, like, really, really anxious as I watched. Lawnmower Man. I didn't know that was one. That was a really weird movie. Shawshank Redemption. That one's a classic. Green Mile. It's kind of interesting because, like, some of these are, like, really well-known horror movies, and some of them weren't really, like, scary, but kind of more emotional, like The Green Mile. I feel like that's kind of more of the category that The Long Walk kind of falls into, actually. A kind of more emotional rather than, like, horror. In a sense, sorry, my nose is getting, like, kind of stuffy. But yeah, it was really good. Glad I got to see it at some point. I'm glad that I still have access to HBO Max, because there's, like, definitely some movies I want to see on there. There's a horror movie that came out recently. I don't remember what the name of it was, but I wanted to watch that, and there's some other things on there. But yeah, this movie was awesome. So I really wanted to make a video on it, and I'm glad that I did. I don't know when I mean, there's a lot of videos that are, like, pre-recorded on here, but in terms of one that I'm, like, posting and talking about, like, the day of or anything, I don't know when the next one of those will be. It's like a battle between me and the weather, honestly, because, like, it's 10 a.m. right now and I'm recording this, but once it gets to, like, 11, 12 or so, it gets really hot, and then it stays hot till, like 10 or 11 p.m. Unless I record stuff at night, kinda. But yeah, I guess I'll, for like the rest of the month or so, if there's a movie or something I want to talk about immediately, it has to be something I, like, really, really want to talk about, which is a bummer, because, like, sometimes I watch cool stuff where I'm like, I sort of want to give my thoughts, but, like, you know, that's why I use Letterboxd as well. That kind of... There would be, like, a billion more movie reviews in this channel if I didn't have a Letterboxd account, let me tell you. Alright, but yeah, this one was good. Kind of curious on, like, your guys' thoughts as well. And see you next time.